Good afternoon, or depending where you are in the world, it could be night, morning. Here's another random video on street photography from yours truly, something that's been trending on TikTok and short format content in recent memory is something called unpopular opinions, where influencers or people on the internet share their, I guess, quote unquote, unpopular opinion on their respective genres or subject matter that they cover. And so as I was lying in bed the other night, I thought, why don't I do a version for street photography for this space? Share some of my opinions that may be unpopular or maybe even popular. I already know some of these opinions may ruffle some feathers. So please let me know in the comment section if you agree, disagree, or if there's other opinions that I miss or that you have that you want to share, because I love to hear them. So let's get cracking. The first unpopular opinion that I have is that... Wait, what was it? I didn't write this down. I had it all muscle memory. And the list is not long. It's pretty fluid. It's short. Okay, I just remembered. I just wrote it down on my as a side note right here so I don't forget. So the first unpopular opinion that I want to share with you is the term being used on TikTok, and now I'm starting to see it on Instagram. The term street photography being misused and really just misinformation on it. A lot of these young kids, it's really the young kids, the Gen Z, yeah, I'm calling them out, saying what they do is street photography when it's really just portraits, street portraits. I guess street portraits is a subcategory of street photography. Anyways, I'm sure you've seen these videos where you have the photographer walking up to a total stranger on the street or anywhere really and asking them to take their photograph, complimenting them, telling them that they're a street photographer. Some of these guys and gals, they have a lot of followers and they call their work street photography. Now, for the casual person, this type of photography is eye candy, I guess you can say. And actual street photography work is not per se eye candy to the casual person because it's a little bit more complex, or most people just don't understand what we do or what we're trying to do. But I'm not sure why these photographers are calling themselves street photographers. Maybe it's an algorithm play. Maybe they think it's a cooler term to call themselves a street photographer than just a photographer or portrait photographer. I don't know. But my advice is to those photographers that are creating that type of imagery and reels, sharing their work on Instagram and things like that, is to, I wouldn't want to call myself a street photographer, but maybe that's what's helped gain their following online. I don't know. I think it's just kind of weird. And I commented on a few of these posts because it's just on my, what's it called? Suggested feed. And I'll say stuff like, this is not street photography. I'm not trying to hate on them. I'm just trying to educate them, or I'm not trying to be the street photography police online, but it is a little bit misleading to people, because when the person or the average person that doesn't know what street photography is and sees that and thinks that's what street photography is, it kind of, I don't know, it gets street photography already, it just gets lost in the shuffle. So to have something like that be called street photography and to tell your followers, especially if you have, some of these people have million+ followers, and so you're telling them the wrong genre or the wrong thing, that's not very good. But to be positive, it is great to see other people find inspiration, just go out and shoot, use their camera, have a positive impact in that way. But also try to learn what street photography is, learn from the greats, buy some books, just Google. I mean, again, everybody has their terms of what street photography is. It should be, in my opinion, street photography is something candid. You don't go up to somebody and pose, or you don't start framing and aligning and positioning people or things, or manipulating the image and post-processing as far as adding or subtracting elements. So yeah, as we dive into social media, and there's another whole element to this, AI. That's a whole nother discussion, but that's gonna alter what street photography is to the casual eyes. So yeah, other hardcore purist street photographers, let's try to band together on this one. My other second unpopular opinion, and it might, I don't know how people are gonna react to this, whoever's watching, the 15-20 people that are gonna watch this, but I remember last year, or maybe the year before, in recent years, when certain street photography festivals would announce their judging lineup for their contests and for their festival and things of that nature. Um, and there was at one point where it was predominantly men that was on the panel or judging criteria. You know, one person, I don't know who exactly, I kind of think I know who online initiated that spark and conversation, but I'm not going to call them out because I'm not totally sure. But somebody said, why is it only all men? There's only one woman, blah, 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 blah. And it just became this whole crazy thing. I didn't get too deep into it. I saw some comments online and some people posted stories on them, so that's how I was aware of it. But it just became this whole political thing, and I think sometimes there are times we need to give people, or in this case the festival organizer, the benefit of the doubt. I can only imagine organizing something to that scale is already difficult as it is, gathering judges, people that want to participate, the agenda for that week, the pricing and everything that's involved to making a street photography festival or any festival successful. So basically it just became this whole thing about not having enough women, which I agree, it was pretty one-sided for the most part. If I remember, I think it was only one female in the entire judging panel, and from the optics it just looks weird when you see it like that, you know, when you're scrolling on the page, and it does catch your eye and attention. But I think there's always a better and more professional way to handle something like that. If you truly have concern or are curious why there is an imbalance of judges within the male-female spectrum, I think it's always better to directly contact the festival organizers and see what they have to say, because maybe they reached out to an equal amount of 50-50 male-female ratio, but you know, more men got back or wanted to be involved with the festival than females. I don't know, but it's better to always, at least for me and how I'm brought up, how I'm raised, is always to have that initial respect and then just reach out to them directly. It doesn't have to be this whole big thing on social media, especially if you have a following. And you know, if you're irresponsible with your following and what you post online, I mean, we've seen it in every space, politics, business, people posting things that are not true or are fabricated, and it just blows up. So even if you have a smaller scale following, 13,000, 20,000, but predominantly those are, you know, street photographers that follow you and that trust your word, I think it's better to just contact the festival director directly and see it from there. No need to create a whole craziness online. It's not going to do anybody any good anyway. And yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about that one? I mean, how would you have handled something like that? Do you support the outcry online? I don't know. It's always hard to balance something like that because there's always someone is always going to complain or brings attention to something in some way or shape or form. So yeah, on to the next one. The next unpopular opinion is followers on Instagram. There are a lot of people that I think that I see on Instagram, street photographers that have great work and have a decent amount of followers that should have a lot more followers. And there's other people that have a lot of followers that I think their work is subpar. And of course, it's all opinions. Other people might think he or she photo or portfolio is good, and others might think the opposite. But I think we're entering more and more into this warp that we base everything on followers. We judge, hey, if they have X amount of followers, their work is probably good. Or if they have a low count of amount of followers, they're probably not as good. And I feel like most people don't take the time to scroll and actually look at the photographer's body of work. They just go straight to the follower count. I mean, it's just what we're immune to, or what our mind tells us at this point, which is kind of unfortunate. And a lot of times these photographs look better on, you gotta have to at least look at on the computer, but sometimes even that doesn't do justice for it. So yeah, it's hard. Social media, you know, if you're in that rat race of trying to build your followers, you know, over time it'll compound. And why the helicopter flying over right now? Anyways, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. It's just, we need to stop putting a heavy emphasis on followers or follower counts. It's just, I mean, I don't know, our society is already superficial enough. So if you catch yourself judging someone's work based off of their followers, you better go check yourself. And last but not least, my last unpopular opinion, and I don't know how people are gonna react to this, but I'm gonna share it anyways. And it actually goes back to the street photography festival, so it's probably like 2-in-1. Street photography festivals and competitions, contests, you guys gotta find other judges. I just keep seeing the same judge from one festival to the next, to the next, to the next, to the following year. It's always the same judge. And lately, I think in recent or the past year, it's mostly been Matt Stewart. And I'm not trying to interfere with his money. Like, hey, if they reached out to you, called you to participate in their festival, hey, more power to you. And obviously he has great work. He has a big following and a lot of people know him in the street photography space. But there's like so much other people that these festivals can use. And I don't know, it just doesn't make your festival look special if the one prior to yours use so and so and then you're using the same person. To me it kind of looks lazy, but I understand with whatever the festival and Matt Stewart worked out with each other, maybe he got a good deal, and with his following, his exposure, he can bring a lot of eyeballs to their festival. So I don't know completely. It's just that when I see the same people on the judging team, it's just kind of somewhat discouraging. I want to see new faces, new people. And there's actually a flaw within the festivals itself, because they have first round of judges and then usually they have 1 or 2 people in the final judges. A lot of times the first round of judges are more contemporary street photographers, and so their style of work is so much different than the final judge, which is usually like a magnum photographer or someone more seasoned. So the first round of judges are pushing a certain type of imagery to the final judge, and then, you know, they gotta pick from that small pool of the finalists. So it is, to me, that's why I've kind of stopped submitting to competitions. Not that I got into a lot of them. I don't know if people share their feedback to the festivals, or if the festivals even care. They're probably just hoping to break even and have a successful season. But yeah, those are my unpopular opinions in the street photography space. I'm sure there are more, and more will pop up as I'm just going on my daily life. And if there are a few more, I'll make another video. But yeah, let me know in the comments section. Hit the like button. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as well. Until next time, keep shooting.